Victor Salva is obviously a very controversial figure, convicted child molesters, done time for it. Look it up.
Jeepers. What a creeper. It's Sleepless with Steve and the Movie Book Club with your host, Steve Pulaski.
Talking about Jeepers Creepers 3. What, they made a third one. Yes, they did. It is astonishing how few people know about this, okay? And I say this after just attending a sold-out show, one-night show tonight. So I'm going to break it down for you, not only my thoughts on this, but kind of the unconventional release pattern of this film, okay? So first off, again, it was originally planned as a one-night-only showing on September 26th, yesterday, technically. So at 7 o'clock. There will be another showing on October 4th. So if you really want to go see it, check your local AMCs, check your local Cinemarks. It's showing October 4th, okay? I just found out about the second screening today, or yesterday. I didn't know that. So I saw it today, bought tickets a couple weeks ago and stuff like that. The film has been in production and talked about for years. It was originally called The Jeepers Creepers 3, The Creeper Walks Among Us. Then MGM couldn't fund it. It was then called Jeepers Creepers 3 Cathedral, which is how many fans refer to the film as well. Cathedral was going to be the original storyline. It was scrapped. Funding was on and off. Victor Salva is obviously a very controversial figure, convicted child molesters, done time for it. Look it up.
Jeepers. What a creeper.
Indeed, Lord have mercy. So, indeed. So, again, Salva, being a very controversial figure, couldn't secure distribution for this film. Finally, in 2015, the project was greenlit to start filming by Myriad Pictures to be distributed by Screen Media Films, and that's who is distributed it now. It was supposed to come out back on Labor Day weekend when I remember Dominic Guanzon and I did our top 5, which you can now view on my YouTube channel. If you look up Steve Pulaski or Sleepless with Steve on YouTube, you can find it. We did our top 5 that weekend because nothing was out. Jeepers Creepers 3 was originally going to come out that week. It did not come out. So, again, it was on a one-night showing September 26th, which was yesterday, and it's got one more showing October 4th. So to talk about this and kind of break it down, first off, I was very excited for this. Bought my tickets early, was very much looking forward. Love the first 2 Jeepers Creepers movies. Even the second one. I know the second one is not very good. I know the second one has a lot of flaws with it. I was talking to Dominic about this earlier this week. I know there's a lot of flaws in the second one. That's the one where they're on the bus. Now I'm just going to read some hot takes, okay? We're going to do some hot takes. Now I got to watch myself because a lot of these have vulgarities. I'm going to kind of dance around this, okay? But I'm going on Twitter. I looked up Jeepers Creepers 3, and I'm going to look up some of the tweets, okay? And we're going to read a few tweets.
And at the time of this discussion of these readings, the movie has been out for how long?
The movie's been out for about 5 hours.
So these are raw.
These are raw
emotions.
Tweets. Okay, you ready for these? These have just been tweeted minutes ago. Jeepers Creepers 3 gotta be the worst movie to hit theaters.
I thought that was Mother.
That was Mother 2 weeks ago. Jeepers Creepers 3 sucked. Apparently, there's a Jeepers Creepers 3, and it sucks from what people are saying. LMAO.
What a bandwagon.
Wow. You would expect Jeepers Creepers 3 would be an interesting hit for its long-time comeback. But no, a lot of bad reviews. I can't watch Jeepers Creepers 3 because Victor Salva is some words I can't say on air. Jeepers Creepers 3 was whack. Rated 3 stars. Now, in this show, that would actually be a pretty good movie. I think he's
3
thinking
stars?
3 stars out of 10.
The same rating
I think he's saying
Kingsman
3 stars
got.
out of 10. Yeah. Indeed. Damn, was Jeepers Creepers 3 really that bad? Jeepers Creepers 3 is literally the stupidest movie I have ever seen. And finally, man, I'm just waiting for Jeepers Creepers 3 to come on Fire Stick. There's your hot takes on Jeepers Creepers 3. And I'm just going to say this right now. I wasn't purposefully cherry-picking the bad ones. I was going through a scroll. I didn't find a single good one in the scroll that I just did on Twitter. So this has been a pretty...
I feel like making one just to help the film.
Just to help it a little bit. You almost feel a little bit bad for it, okay? So, Jeepers Creepers 3. The only returning member, aside from Gina Phillips in a cameo appearance, is Jonathan Breck, who returns as the Creeper. And it's got to be said right off the bat, Breck is great. Physical actor, great emotion, raw tension, great presence, has a lot of fun in this movie. And it was funny because I went to a sold-out show. This movie was so packed, okay, today when I saw it this evening. There were people sitting on the stairs. And I've never seen a movie theater that packed before.
That's awesome. I would love
actually really cool.
I would love to be in one of those situations. I think the last time I've seen one so packed was, I think, the very first Avengers movie, when everyone was there all hyped up for the release.
You wouldn't want to be the person sitting on the stairs, but you'd like to experience something like that.
For me, it's Dark Knight Rises, where people showed up like 8 hours before the movie was out, and they were like bringing board games into the movie theater just to like wait it out.
Just to wait it out, yeah. Because I got there, I'll tell you right now, I got there movie started at 7. I got there at about 6:30, and I walked in, and I already couldn't get my end seat that I always want. I couldn't get my end seat. It was already packed. And I mean, I was sitting elbow. I've never been in a movie theater where I've been sitting, believe it or not, for how often I've gone to movies, I've never been in a movie theater where I have to sit next to two people I don't know on either side of me. Never happened before until today. Okay? So this was a packed showing. At least people are getting out to see it. I didn't know how well word would travel because this thing was not advertised very well. This thing was very low key. If you weren't on the internet and you weren't kind of keeping an ear open for Jeepers Creepers, who is now 14 years after the second one, you didn't know. And it was funny because after the movie ended, everybody got up to leave. I was in the theater with about 10 people then, and I knew what was coming. I'm watching everybody leave. It's like, man, everybody can't wait to get out and get on their phones and everything. They had a Q&A with Jonathan Breck for about 10 minutes after the movie.
Oh. What? He was there?
He wasn't there, no.
Okay.
It was a recorded thing. It was a pre-recorded thing. But it was still cool. And I'm like, man, people are dumb. You know what I mean? But anyway.
It's kind of like how Mother got that cinema score, right?
Yeah.
They're handing out cards because it's like fans
just as it
not viewers watch, right?
Just as it says, like with Mother,
Viewers
directed
watch,
by
viewers score.
Darren Aronofsky on the screen. They're handing out cards. It's like, well, you didn't even give me time to digest.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Jeepers Creepers 3, what's it about, okay? It's funny. This movie doesn't really have too much of a plot. It's a lot of characters that kind of lack cohesion in a weird way. It basically focuses on the Brandon clan in the movie. It's led by the unstable matriarch played by Meg Foster, who's living with her granddaughter Addie played by Gabrielle Haw, and the film revolves around these two in the wake of Meg Foster's character, the death of Meg Foster character's son, and by the hand of the creeper. Okay, literally the severed hand of the creeper. So the movie basically revolves around those characters loosely. It also it revolves around two police officers played by Brandon Smith and Stan Shaw. Stan Shaw was also in one of my favorite war movies of all time, The Boys in Company C, back in 1974, where he was actually playing a recent person in the Vietnam draft. Awesome to see him now older, still doing stuff. So it focuses also on these two officers that are kind of just roaming around this hick town and stuff like that. And then, of course, there's the Creeper, who, if you forgot, because it's been so long since the last one, the Creeper comes back and basically feasts every 23 years for 23 days on new victims. His limbs, including his head, are regenerated by consuming humans. And he's lived forever. He's got wings. He's got these big hulking wings. He disguises as a scarecrow. That's kind of the movie. He has an arsenal of weapons, everything from throwing stars to an ancient dagger to a battle axe. He's got a black cloak, green reptilian skin. You know what I mean? He's actually a really cool character. And a really cool character. You guys remember him from the
he's an
original.
iconic horror movie monster.
I love him. I think he's an awesome character. I love the kind of like scenes of him in the trench coat and everything. I think he's a great looking monster.
I would just say like him like on like the Scarecrow is just like an iconic shot for like horror movie fans.
I think so. I love it. So overall, though, there's a lot of attention paid to the mythology in this movie of the Creeper character. Now, here's the paradoxical part about that. There's a line at the end of the movie where one character says, the Creeper comes back every 23 years to eat. That's all we know. And it's funny how that line is relevant because you know what? For as much time as everybody spends talking about the Creeper, having conversations about them, what's his motivations, what's its motivations, what's it doing, how does it feast, where does it go, there's not a lot learned about this character. There's too much spotty information, inconclusive information that Victor Salva, who wrote the film, chooses to reveal to us. There's also never really a setting or a real like main character to focus on in this movie. It meanders a lot. And this is why I wish they would have used the Cathedral script that they scrapped. It was originally going to be Jeepers Creepers 3 Cathedral, like I mentioned before, but they scrapped that script script because they realized they thought that it felt too dated, okay? Which makes sense. It's been on horror movie message boards, not the script, but like people talking about it and stuff like that. They felt it was a dated idea. The fact that I would have loved to read that script, but it would have at least grounded the film into me having some sort of like object or locational significance that it lacks in this movie.
Where was this one? Where did this one take place?
This one just takes place in like a rural town. I don't think it's ever. I think it's in Poho County.
It's kind of like the second movie, ain't it?
Yeah, the second movie takes place. It doesn't take place. Here's the thing: they mention the Nile, which is that road that the bus gets stuck on in the second movie. It's right nearby, so it's the same location.
Okay. So this one does take place after the second, then?
Yeah.
Okay.
For the sake of this review, the spoiler-free review, yes. Okay, I'm just gonna say that. All right. But it's also kind of the thing too, where it's like you never totally know where the setting is. Again, the Nile from the second movie is in this film. Okay, I'll say that. Now, going on to the positives about this movie. Okay, Breck is great. I've said before, great physical performance, a lot of fun. Clearly gets back into this character. There's some really cool acrobatic scenes of him in the movie too. And the other thing you got to really forgive this movie for too. You really got to forgive it. I don't even think of it too much as a criticism. I think of it as a point of forgiveness. This movie was made pretty cheaply. You can tell Salva's ambition for this movie outweighed the budget. Because of him being the controversial figure that he is, the unsavory figure that he is, which I think is probably a polite way to put it. There was a lot that this movie, I think, wanted to do that it couldn't do. That it just couldn't afford to. A lot of car crashes, quite a few deaths. Good known off screen, which is never a good sign for a horror movie. Moments that I think are really kind of, good for that kind of horror leverage and stuff, but they're not shown as much as maybe you think. But there is a good use of sound in this movie, too. There's some really good tense scenes in this film, too. And overall, it clearly wants to give fans something that they can appreciate. After so many years of laying dormant this franchise, Salva clearly wants to say, hey, I admire that people still like this movie. I admire that Jonathan Breck still goes and gets recognized at conventions and stuff like that. I want to give my fans something to really, no pun intended, feast on with this movie. And it really shows with the dedication here, okay? So maybe that's why I'm more sympathetic to somebody who tweets out how bad Jeepers Creepers 3 sucked.
My question is, it's like, those people that are doing those like raw tweets right now, have they even seen the other Jeepers Creeper films, or are they just going into this knowing what this director has done, making him controversial, of course, and just going in there just to hate it?
I think, you know what the thing is like one of these things, and I mean, now you can make the argument, like, I'm not gonna sit here and play police in terms of like how does Victor Salva's, crimes rank up with what Woody Allen's been accused of, with what Roman Polanski has done. What I can say though is that when you do something as awful as Salva's done, it's very hard to go approach his movies and take them for what they are, especially if they're bad.
Yeah.
Like, especially if they're bad. And what you're seeing now with Salva is another movie he just did recently with the actor from Jeepers Creepers 2, Ray Wise, the older guy from Jeepers Creepers 2. He's been doing like a movie like Rosewood Lane, which is clearly, I think the budget of that movie was about $500,000. He doesn't get the funding that his movies used to get. He obviously now, with a 2-night only thing, doesn't get the distribution he's used to getting anymore. There's a lot of sacrifices, and the fact that he's still making movies is a little bit of an accomplishment for him in itself. Overall, Jeepers Creepers 3 is not a great movie. I'm not going to sit here and defend it as. People have said that it's on the same level as a sci-fi movie. As sci-fi meaning S-Y-F-Y, the network, not science fiction. We're talking the network. Mm-hmm. I can agree with that. People have compared it to Sharknado. I cannot agree with that. As somebody who sat through 4 Sharknado movies, I ain't doing that again.
You're a trooper.
I ain't doing that again. I skipped this new one.
Did you watch the Sharknado movies on a level that was with Sharknado? Or did you actually go into it, I don't know, what did you...
I adjusted my expectations for the cheesy kind of B movie it was supposed to be, and it failed at that even, in my opinion.
Okay.
That's a movie that wants to be dumb for the sake of being dumb. I don't buy that.
I feel like that's what like most of the Sharknado sequels have become, basically.
That's exactly right.
Was the first one?
It was kind of dumb, but it was like also playing it kind of serious. So it kind of worked.
I don't even want to get into that.
So does Jeepers Creepers meet that B-level cheesiness?
In In a way. And the other thing is, too, is there's some very, I didn't mention this yet, there's some very suspect acting here. I'm not going to lie, like Stan Shaw and Brandon Smith, who play the cops, like, there's some facial expression things going on there that, like, you know, did not kind of fit. You know, there's some very, like, unintentional comedy here. But all through that, as somebody like me, big fan of the franchise, one of the first horror movies I watched was the original and the sequel. I liked it enough where I'm going to say, you know what, check it out, give it a chance, understand the budgetary constraints, understand the production constraints as well. I really wish, though, they would have used the cathedral narrative in the film that they were originally planning, because just the name Cathedral, that's an awesome name, that's an awesome setting.
I got a question for you. Since, like, you'll probably know this answer because you see a lot more films than I do. Since this film is not getting that wide of a release and, like, a limited distribution, do you think the same thing's going to happen when it comes out on DVD?
You know what? I can't say. And I think, though, because it's a little bit challenging with movies like this with one-night-only things. Like, Dominic, you remember when we went to go see Sword Art Online, okay? Yeah. Totally different experience. That movie's still not on DVD. The ordinal scale's not on DVD.
That's also a problem because it's Japanese.
Indeed.
So
Indeed. But
it's got that transfer rate.
These one-night events, you never know. Like earlier this year, I don't know if you were on when I talked about this, Dom, but I went to go see Lost in London live, which was Woody Harrelson's movie that he shot. It was a movie that was shot live and broadcasted into cinemas. And it was a one-take thing, like a play. And it was Woody Harrelson running all through town, you know what I mean? Running all through town, meeting Willie Nelson, Owen Wilson. I said before, Owen Wilson, Willie Nelson, most fun thing to say ever. Okay, but that still isn't on DVD. So with these one-night-only things, you never can tell. The one thing I will say, like how quickly, because I know you guys probably want to see this, or at least Joe, I know you want to see this too. You're saying, how does it, does it have a chance to get, how long do you think it might get to the DVD? Well, the distribution outlet that was put out was Screen Media Films, and they've put out quite a bit over the last few years. A lot of weird stuff, a lot of indie stuff. Actually, one of the movies that they put out is called, one of their first movies is called Noel, which was the Paul Walker, Susan Sarandon, Chaz Palminteri Christmas anthology movie. A very weird thing. Very weird thing to
Christmas anthology?
Christmas anthology.
Can you describe what that means?
It follows a bunch of different characters around Christmas. Kind of like an anthology movie, like
like New Year's Eve and like Valentine's Day. Those movies.
Okay. All right.
Not before those movies, though. But yeah, that's so. Moral of the story, I think it's got a chance to come to DVD.
I'm sorry, real quick, not to derail you anymore, but I just thought of Paul Walker. I thought it was like Paul Walker in like A Christmas Story as Scrooge McDuck. Yeah, really.
Well, what I'm saying is this movie does have a chance to come to DVD.
Sure.
I think. Okay, if you can't catch it on October 4th.
That sounds like, minus the director's reputation, this feels like that fertile ground for cult.
Yes, it does. In a lot of ways, I could see that. And the only thing too that really and I'm sure it's not a surprise to you two, is the film does set up not only a sequel, but sequels. It sets up sequels.
Oh.
So I'm very interested to see how this franchise might move forward. And if it winds up moving forward and even has half of the surprise and the originality of the first film, Jeepers Creepers 3 might be a small price to pay for what we could get in the future.
You think he might hand it off to like a different director to start doing it just so it can get
I think he would be wise to. I think Salva's done 3 of these movies. I think he would be wise to turn the keys over to somebody else.
Who wrote them?
Salva.
So so he would probably get like some sort of residual for...
Yes, probably.
If he passed them on.
Because you know why? It'd be based on characters written by Salva.
Right, yeah.
It would be, yes. So I think he should pass the puck. I really do. Not only for his own sake and his own reputation, but if he wants this franchise to have a chance at any kind of longevity, not only just success, he's going to want to step out.
There's an audience for him.
There is absolutely an audience for him. Overall, I give Jeepers Creepers 3 2.5 out of 4 stars. I'm kinder than a lot of my colleagues. I'm kinder than a lot of people on Twitter. You know what? Just for the fun of it, I will go and read a couple more hot takes. I'll read a couple more hot takes. And then
Shotgun reviews.
Yes, indeed. Shotgun reviews. That's a good way. I'm going to read 5 more hot takes. Here we go. Jeepers Creepers 3 got me hyped for nothing. Confused emoji face. Don't support Jeepers Creepers 3. Just bootleg it. People went into Jeepers Creepers 3 expecting more than a crappy B-horror movie. Imagine the disappointment. And then finally, which I think sums up a lot of people, when the hell did Jeepers Creepers 3 come out?
At least that one guy's like, you should
That's
see
true.
it, but bootleg it.
You know, and that's the moral of Jeepers Creepers 3.
Well, I would love to see the budget of this movie, both its production and its marketing, or lack thereof.
I tried to look it up. I can't find anything on it. I can't find anything on budget. This is the kind of thing too that they probably do not want to really release. You know what I mean?
You're the only reason why I've heard of this movie.
You know, I mean, because the second movie had a budget of about $17 million,
Yeah.
and that was a one-setting bus movie. You know what I mean? So it's just, I don't know. I'm guessing probably $1 million or $2 million. Not much.
Sounds
Not
about
much
right.
at all. And much of it probably went to the actors. That's what I'm going to say.